Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this breakout session as part of the 37th SED Foundation Day celebration. With this event, the Research Colloquium, we are given the opportunity to witness the presentation of the four research studies under the Accountancy and Business Management Research Cluster with the research agenda, development, processing, and innovation of products, materials, and models. By the way, I am Miss Resume C. Iligan, your moderator for this breakout session. This is to remind everyone here in this breakout room to fill in the attendance form posted in the chat box. So I will post the attendance. So you may fill out the attendance form. So before we start, let me remind you of the house rules. Okay. So reminders, in the Google Meet, please refrain from opening your camera unless requested. Then please keep your mic off to avoid unnecessary background noise to interfere with the proceeding. And attendance links are provided in the Google Meet chat and the YouTube Live comment section. And another reminders for the presenters to get yours, and also to the attendees to get your certificate of attendance. Please fill up the evaluation form shortly before we end our activity. And we encourage everyone to ask questions and give comments or feedback only after each presentation. So this is the reminders for the presenters. So you have only 10 minutes time for presentation, and there is 5 minutes allotment for questions and comments. And please be on the meeting room at least 10 minutes before the start of your respective breakout sessions. So we are now done with the reminders of the house rules. So I would like to encourage everyone that if you have any questions or clarifications from the presenters, you may post them at the chat box. Also, we will entertain your questions after the presentation, and if we have enough time, we can have our open forum. Okay, I know you are all excited to witness different studies under this cluster. So to start with, let us welcome our first presenter. So our first presenters, we have Jaibero C. Takal, Aliu Gabriel D. Amachaga, Riham A. Razuman, and Paula Maris C. Valdeweza with the research study titled Factors Affecting the Mode of Shopping Preference for Clothing Apparel of MSU-IIT Students. Okay.
Good day. I am Iligan B. Amachaga from MSU-IIT Integrated Developmental School, and I am the representative of our group to present our research entitled Factors Affecting the Mode of Shopping Preference for Clothing Apparel of MSU-IIT IDS Students. Background of the study. Businesses have adapted to the change brought by the rise of internet and thus have engaged in e-commerce. That being said, having an alternative way to shop has given consumers a dilemma on which mode of shopping they prefer, whether through online or through traditional and physical stores. This study was conducted to determine which factors affected the mode of shopping preference of the students from MSU-IIT IDS. And because of the pandemic, I actually find this research of ours quite relevant and maybe help some business-minded people out there start their business and maybe take hints from our research. The findings of this study will allow future entrepreneurs and existing establishments to learn and analyze consumer behavior and preferences. Furthermore, it will be helpful for them to decide the best possible way to provide their products and services, whether online or in physical stores. Objectives. To shorten the discussion, we picked three main objectives of our study. Number one is determine the socio-economic profile of the students' consumers in terms of age, sex, grade level, monthly family gross income, weekly allowance. Number two, identify the most preferred mode of shopping for the students, online or physical store shopping. Number three is evaluate the perception of the respondents and the significant relationship of the following factors on purchasing clothes online and physical stores: trust, convenience, security, price of goods and services, quality of goods and services, special offers, ease of payment, previous shopping experience, authenticity of products, and taste and preference. Now we will go to conceptual framework. This framework was based on the theory of planned behavior proposed by Isaac Azzedine, wherein we take into consideration one's attitude towards belief, subjective norms, and perceived behavioral control. Attitude towards belief has security, price of goods and services, quality of goods and services, ease of payment, and authenticity. Subjective norms, special offers, previous shopping experience, and taste and preference. In perceived behavioral control, there is only convenience and trust, all of which guide consumer action and proceeds to their mode of shopping preference, either online or physical stores. Methods. The study was conducted at MSU-IIT IDS and targeted both junior and senior high school students. Stratified random sampling was used to determine the respondents, and a 4-point Likert scale questionnaire was used to gather data. We used the percentage frequency distribution, or PFD, average mean, and Cronbach's alpha tests as our statistical treatment to our values or data that we have acquired. Procedures in data gathering. First is making of letter of consent addressed to the principal, advisors, and respondents. In this stage of gathering of data, we made sure that the letter of consent addresses the concerns of the respondents' inquiries and made sure to keep the data that will be gathered to be made confidential, and only those who are involved in this study can view, assess, and analyze. After that, signing of the letter of consent by the principal, math and IT head, and advisor follows. And after that, giving of questionnaire to the respondents who accepted the letter of consent and are not forced to answer. Number 4 is giving the respondents time to answer the survey questionnaire, usually for about 3 days to 1 week waiting time. And after 1 week, taking back the questionnaires from each section and gathering them and counting and analyzing the inputs of the kind respondents. And after gathering data, in terms of socio-economic profile, most of the respondents were 16-year-old. 54% of them are female. Composing 21% of the sample population, most respondents came from the 11th and 12th grade. Majority had a weekly allowance of less than or equal to 500 pesos. They have an estimated monthly family gross income ranging from 15,000 to 30,000 pesos. The majority of the students, consisting of 52%, have shopped online, and 48% of the students have not tried shopping online. Most of the respondents, composing 92%, prefer physical store shopping than online shopping. Convenience and trust, whose level of significance are at 10% and 5% respectively, were statistically significant to the factors affecting the mode of shopping preference for clothing apparel of MSU-IIT Integrated Developmental School students. Among the 10 factors this study took into consideration, only convenience and trust were statistically significant. Others doesn't have strong relationships to their behavior or preference. In conclusion, trust and confidence of the consumers are the major factors that affect their mode of shopping preference. Having trust and confidence significantly affecting the mode of shopping preference of the respondents, businesses should ensure to provide quality service to their consumers. They can do so by seeking ways to improve their bonds with their consumers and making things more convenient to the consumers. And I believe that is all. Thank you for watching.
Okay. Okay, thank you first presenters for a very informative research study. Indeed, it's important to assess the factors that affect our preferences in terms of the mode of shopping. So the presenters are now ready to answer the questions given by our audience. So let me see in the chat box if there are questions for our first presenter. Okay. So I think we don't have any questions posted in the chat box. So by the way, first presenters, I am curious about the implication of your study. So it was revealed that trust and convenience are the significant factors affecting the mode of shopping preference. So what does this imply? So the first presenter may answer these questions, can answer these questions. First presenter. So what is the implication on the significance of trust and convenience to the mode of shopping preference among your respondents?
So, ma'am, I think that trust, trust and convenience. Uh, the result implies that we are dependent towards inconvenience. For example, inconvenience, ma'am, like on how on the proximity of the shop. Like for example, if it is close to your house or if it is far, of course you'd choose the closest shop that you choose so that it will be convenient. And trust because right now there are many clickbaits like for example in the online shop, ma'am. There are so many clickbaits that really that is really a clickbait, ma'am. And that I think that level of trust, and I think that trust is a significant factor of the behavior of the consumers, ma'am. That's all.
Okay. So thank you for that answer, first presenter. So how about the audience? If you have questions, maybe we can entertain it at the last part of the program. So now let's proceed to our second presenter. But before that, I'm going to give the certificates for the first presenters. Share na, sir. Okay, so Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology, College of Education presents this Certificate of Recognition awarded to Al Gabriel D. Amachaga for sharing his knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the Pandemic of the College of Education, given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City. Signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. So a virtual round of applause, please. And another certificate of recognition is awarded to the co-authors. We have Riham A. Razuman for sharing her knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on the academic resilience during the pandemic of the College of Education, given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT, Iligan City. Signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Another certificate of recognition is awarded to Hybe Rose C. Takal for sharing her knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day anniversary of the Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the pandemic of the College of Education, given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City. Signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. And last, we have for another co-author, this certificate of recognition is awarded to Paula Maris C. Valdehuesa for sharing her knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the pandemic of the College of Education, given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City. Signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. So again, let's give a virtual round of applause for the first presenter. Now, let's proceed to our next presenters with their study titled The Correlation of Endorser Credibility and Self-Brand Connection to Cosmetics Brand Equity Among Senior High School Students. So let's give the floor to Michelle Adria M. Bernaldez, Karen R. Merto, and Noel Alexi F. Resurrection.
F. Resurrection, a graduate from MSU-IIT IDS batch 2019-2020 under the Accountancy and Business Management strand. And I am here today to present to you our research paper entitled The Correlation of Endorser Credibility and Self-Brand Connection to Cosmetic Brand Equity Among Senior High School Students in MSU-IIT IDS, co-authored by Michelle Adria M. Bernaldez and Karen R. Myrtle. A celebrity endorsement has always been a widely adopted marketing practice. It has actually been practiced long since the 18th century. Today, it is very typical for brands appealing to a specific segment to seek out an ambassador who meets their own criteria. As consumers become more and more weighed down by the amount of advertising, companies are pushing their boundaries and exploring more innovative solutions for catching the attention of their target audience. Brands look for celebrities who share qualities, values, ideas in order to create a potential synergy between the company and or its products and the celebrity. Besides, a large follower base is a key criterion for a brand as it enables it to reach a wider audience coming from published pictures, clicks, shares, and tweets. Now let's talk about the different variables involved. Firstly, brand equity. As we all know, brands are a key element to the company's relationships with its consumers. This is seen as brand equity and consumer brand relationship. Brand equity is the differential effect of knowing that a brand name has an effect on consumer response to a product or its general marketing. In other words, brand equity is measuring the brand's ability to capture consumer loyalty. Now let's talk about the other variable, which is self-brand connection. Self-brand connection is an emergent concept which reflects the formation of strong and meaningful ties between brands and consumer self-identity according to a study done by Escalas back in 2004. A brand can establish a connection with consumers when it helps them achieve goals through self-motivation. So what exactly does the study aim to do? Firstly, we wanted to determine the endorser credibility of select celebrity endorsers from different brands and the degree of self-brand connection between these brands and its consumers. Secondly, we wanted to assess the brand equity of select cosmetic products. And lastly, we wanted to investigate the correlation of endorser credibility and self-brand connection to its brand equity. So all of that would lead us to this specific conceptual framework. The endorser credibility would be determined by the celebrity's attractiveness, trustworthiness, and expertise regarding the product or the brand. Meanwhile, the brand equity would be determined by the consumer's brand awareness, brand associations, perceived quality, and brand loyalty. For our methodology, the research was conducted within MSU-IIT IDS where the target respondents were female senior high school students determined through purposive sampling. The instrument that we used in data gathering was a 5-point Likert scale questionnaire that was statistically treated with an average, mean, and Spearman rank correlation analysis. So this is a specific procedure of our data gathering. So after gathering all the data that we deemed necessary, these were our findings. So first of all, most of our respondents agreed that the select endorsers are attractive, trustworthy, and had adequate expertise regarding the subject. This shows that these select endorsers have high credibility. This reflects studies done by Atkin and Block from 1983, Walker from 1992, and Adam and Hussein from 2017 that celebrity endorsers are perceived as more entertaining and trustworthy. So another finding from our study is that most of our respondents strongly agreed that they felt a connection with these select brands Pond's, Laneige, Maybelline, BLK, and Olay, thus proving that there is a strong self-brand connection between these brands and its consumers. This is also similar to a study by Escalas from 2004 and Duvede et al. From 2015. Next, respondents agreed that they are aware, feel associated, and are loyal to these cosmetic brands. They also agreed that these brands are high in quality, and seeing as these are determinants of a brand's equity, then the brand equity of these select cosmetic brands are shown to be significantly high. Lastly, based on the statistical treatment that we have done on the data that we have gathered, it has shown that there is a positive and significant correlation between endorser credibility and brand equity, as well as between self-brand connection and brand equity. So all of our results conform to the self-verification theory and the associative network memory theory as shown on this slide. So to sum it all up, endorser credibility and self-brand connection are shown to be significant factors of brand equity of cosmetic products. So that concludes our research, and thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, second presenters, for a very informative study. So, you may now ready to answer the questions given by our audience. So, I would like to encourage everyone to please raise your answer in the chat box. So, since there are no questions from our audience, so I will be the one to ask a question. So, presenters, please be ready. So, your study shows that endorser credibility and self-brand connection have positive and significant correlation to the brand equity of cosmetic products. So, what is the implication of the positive and significant correlation among these variables? So what is the implication of the positive and significant correlation among these variables? Like the endorser credibility.
There. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for that question, ma'am. So, to answer your question, so seeing as how we found out that endorser credibility and self-brand connection had a positive and significant effect on brand equity, so we can conclude that more future brands or present brands can uh, might be more encouraged to use this type of marketing strategy since there are studies to show or support that it is very effective in improving one's brand equity, which can be very helpful, of course, to the growth of the brand. Will that be enough? Oh,
Okay, thank you, second presenter, for that
thank you
answer.
very much.
So this time I will now give the certificate of recognition. So okay, Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology College of Education presents the Certificate of Recognition to Noel Alexi F. Resurrection for sharing her knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the pandemic of the College of Education, given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City. Signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. So the same certificate of recognition was given to the co-authors. We have Karen R. Merto and Miss Michelle Adria M. Bernaldez. So again, let's give a virtual round of applause for our second presenters. So now let's proceed to our third presenters. We have Nadine Hyacinth E. Balabat and Sid Charis F. Dasmariñas and Kathleen Diane D. Swan, who will share their research output entitled The Behavioral Analysis Virtual Card Users of Selected High School Students and MSU-IIT Iligan City. So now let's give the floor to our third presenters.
And this one from MSU-IIT IDS, and I am here to present to you a research study entitled Behavioral Analysis of Virtual Card Users of Select High School Students in MSU-IIT Iligan City. Now, payment for expenses is an everyday occurrence in life. With the rise of technology and online shops, as well as mobile applications that require payment, virtual cards and accounts have slowly risen their way to be one of the most useful payment methods. Especially with the pandemic, online payments have proven their worth and usefulness because they provide a platform that follows the rules for social distancing. One of this study's objectives is to determine the profiles of grade 8 to 12 high school students from MSU-IIT IDS that are virtual card users. Another objective that we aim to achieve is to find out what is the most common reason that said students use of virtual card, and finally, to determine what is the most influential factor that affects them in choosing a particular virtual card to use in their digital transactions. So in this study, we use two theoretical issues. The first being the Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM, by Davis, which explains how perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use affect a user's attitude and thus his behavioral intentions toward the use of virtual cards. The second one is the Taiwan Customer Satisfaction Index by Lee, which shows the relationship between image, customer expectations and loyalty, and perceived value. This study was conducted in Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology, Iligan City, with a total respondents of 97, which is composed of 97 students in MSU-IIT IDS. So in obtaining data, the survey questionnaire method was used. Thus, primary data was collected through census method with the application of Likert scale in the questionnaires. After administering the questionnaires, the researchers tallied the frequency of reasons of the respondents in using virtual cards and used the percentage formula to determine the most preferred virtual card and most influential factor in choosing a particular virtual card. In addition to that, the researchers used the weighted mean of the level of influence indicated by the respondents in their response to determine the most influential subfactors of each factor. This table shows that the initial respondents and the final respondents that were used in the studies. So we had initial respondents of 785 students, which is the general population of all grade 8 to grade 12 students in the academic year 2019 to 2020. Most virtual card users are in grade 12, with a sum of 30 students. The age that had the most number of virtual card users were those who were 17 years old at the time. According to Vilsenia and Company, in 2018, the students whose age range are 13 to 15 years old were less knowledgeable than the others, while those 22 and above were more knowledgeable, and thus suggests that the higher the students' age were, the higher the knowledge of the students regarding financial composition. Among the 97 respondents, 40 of them are females while the remaining 57 are males. According to Vilsenia and Company in 2018, in terms of the responders' gender, the female students have upper hand over male students regarding their financial knowledge. However, the testing results showed there is no significant difference in the responders' gender and the entire survey. This result suggested that the gender of the respondents does not affect their financial literacy. We also collected data that showed the estimated weekly allowance of the students. 51.55% of the total respondents had a weekly allowance within the range of 500 to 749 pesos, which is the range with the most number of respondents. Now, this chart shows us the percentage of the reasons on why students use virtual cards. 58% of the students use virtual cards as means for sending payment for game purchases online. 23% meanwhile use it for paying online shopping transactions. The 10% use it to purchase applications, while the remaining 9% use virtual cards as medium to pay bills. This chart shows us that the most influential factor on choosing a virtual card to avail is perceived usefulness and ease of use, with 46 students making up the 49.46% of the total percentage, recognizing it as the top one for the influential factors. It is then followed by trust with 25.81% overall, closely followed by the least influential factor, security and privacy, with a total overall percentage of 24.72%. Overall, this study shows us that the most common reasons for students to use virtual card is to send payment for game purchases. According to Eric G. Ferris in 2019, the main reason for using a virtual card is that it can replace outdated and cumbersome paper checks and the associated manual process inefficiencies such as sending payments, which is in line with our first conclusion based on the data acquired. In choosing a particular virtual card is perceived usefulness and ease of use. The degree to which a consumer believes that no effort will be required to use the system and how easy it is to learn to use the system. The technology acceptance model proposed that perceived ease of use and perceived usefulness predicted the acceptance of information technology. According to Chai and Company in 2014, the user's intent to carry on the usage is jointly driven by the level of contentment, as well as perceived usefulness and usefulness and compatibility. It also shows that perceived usefulness plays the strongest role in shaping attitude towards online banking. So, the most preferred virtual card of respondents is GCash, which and touch mobile subscribers easily and conveniently send and receive cash as well as and receive cash as well as make payments electronically. The responses of students show that the most influential sub-factor under security and privacy is it should not easily show cards information without permission. The most influential factor in
Okay, I think that ends for the third presenter. So thank you, third presenter, for a timely study because especially now in this pandemic, we are encouraged to do cashless payment transaction. So I am very curious in your study, especially on the method that you used in measuring the behavior of virtual card users. Of course, your study is about behavioral analysis. So my question is, how did you measure the behavior of the virtual card users based on the analysis of your results? So third presenters, third presenters. So how did you measure the behavior for virtual card users? Third presenters. We have Swan, um, Palabat, and Dasmariñas.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am? So for the methods of our treatment of our data, we use the percentage formula for the in for the tallying of the factors that can affect the usage of usage of virtual cards to users. So in our in our actual paper, we have frequency and percentage. Yes, ma'am. So the frequency over the total will be equal to the percentage, and then we can find the greatest percentage of the factor that is most influential to users, as well as other uh, factors, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Miss Balabat. So we have a question from our audience, from Michelle Adria Bernaldez. Her question is about, did the users encountered any disadvantage in using virtual cards despite the positive result? So third presenters. So did the users encountered any disadvantage in using virtual cards despite of the positive result?
Um, yes, ma'am. There were threats in using virtual cards such as cyber piracy, and some details of the users are can also be revealed through transactions. So it was a disadvantage in using virtual cards, and it can also be hacked. So that's why some virtual card owners or are being their identities are being in private. So when they use it, it generates a number nga that what will be used for the transaction and not show their whole information po.
Okay, thank you, third presenters. So now this time I'm going to give you the certificate of recognition. So the certificate of recognition is awarded to Kathleen Dian this one for sharing her knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the pandemic of the College of Education. Given this 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City, signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for the Academic Affairs. The same certificate of recognition is awarded to the co-authors. We have Sid Charis F. Dasmariñas and Nadine Hyacinth E. Balaban. So let's give the third presenters a virtual round of applause, please. Okay. Now let's proceed to our last presenters. We have Joshua B. Dandoy, James S. Hermosilia, and Alexis C. Tagubar to present their study about the development and validation of mathematician legends. So let's give the floor to the fourth presenters.
Good day, everyone. I am here to present our research entitled Development and Validation of Mathematician Legends. I am Joshua Bidandoy, one of the authors of the said research, along with James S. Hermosilia and Alexis C. Tagubar. So we all know that students' achievements play a vital role in monitoring the students' growth in learning mathematics. However, researchers found out that there is an increasing margin of students failing achievement, which needs attention. The growing margin of students failing achievement scores is not because of students' low skills and capability in learning. Why is it then that capable students are not participating in mathematics subject? This engagement of students is one of the primary main factor in students' failure. So it is suggested that teachers should be enabled to implement a new kind of pedagogical strategies that engage students. And one of its form is incorporating game game-based instruction. Game-based instruction should be focused in manipulative activity rather than digital game activity. So in a classroom situation, a teacher-student interaction and student-student interactions exert a profound impact on learning. Thus, the researchers intends to develop a board game which incorporate these ideas and learn mathematics at the same time. So our objectives is clearly that to develop and design a validated mathematics board game, which for the students to improve their perception and lessen their disengagement in learning mathematics. And lastly, to provide a new strategy in teaching in an exciting and hands-on way. For our conceptual framework, we follow the input, process, output framework. So for the input, we have the student competency level of mastery and the initial game design. So the level of mastery is determined to make the basis for the development of the game's question cards pool, which intends to respond directly to the need of the students based on the undiagnostic test result of the level of mastery. And another input of the study is the initial game design, which will serve as the benchmark design to undergo the iterative evaluation of the board game. The processes include the content development, game development, and the pilot testing. The content development will follow the iterative process. So after the processes of game development and content development, the output will be the developed Mathematician Legends board game for the grade 7. Research methodology. So our subjects for this study is the grade 7 students from Iligan East National High School, Santa Filomena, Iligan City. This study uses descriptive research with quantitative and qualitative data. So our process for the study will split into two parts. We have the content development and the game development. For the content development, we follow this diagram. So first is we conducted an achievement test. So after conducting an achievement test as our diagnostic test, based on the results, we then map the mastery level of the students' competency on the grade 7 lessons. So after knowing the competency of the grade 7 students, we then formulate and made math question items that will be used to our board game. So after making these math question items, we then evaluated it to the uh, mathematics teachers from MSU Integrated Developmental School to assess the validity of the game question items. So after the evaluation of the game question items, revisions were made by the researchers based on the comments and suggestions from the evaluators. And finally, the final math questions was formed as part of the final item poll. For the second part of the process of our research is the game development. So our game development will follow the iterative design development. So there are three stages for each iteration: the designing, the validating, and the analysis stages. So each iteration will have its own evaluators. For the first iteration, we have the board game enthusiast from the uh, MSU-IIT IDS. So for the second iteration, we have the pre-service math teachers from the College of Education MSU-IIT. And finally, we have the third iteration or the pilot testing. We'll have the grade 7 students from Santa Filomena. So each iteration will follow the design, which have the design of the board game, and after that, the design will be then evaluated, and then the evaluation will then be analyzed and will take necessary revisions. So after revisions, we have another design and then validate until we come up to the desired design. Results and discussions. So for the first part, we have the content development. So for the content development, we first conducted a diagnostic test. To provide a responsive and meaningful remediation tool, the researchers conducted a test to 164 grade 7 students. The tool used is the Validated Paper Pencil Achievement Test developed by Buwan 2016, which intends to measure the mathematics achievement level of grade 7 students. So the results of the diagnostic test were analyzed to determine the level of students' mastery competencies. So there are 35 total competencies. So we have the diagnostic test result. So in the graph shows the result of grade 7 students. So based on the mastery leveling system of Department of Education, 66 to 85% is considered moving towards mastery. So the researchers have decided to make 75% the benchmark level to decide whether to include the competency or not in the game. So out of 35 competencies, 33 competencies are found to be below 75%. So, based on the map competencies from the achievement test, the researchers proceeded to develop questions parallel or like the ones that are present in the achievement test. So 5 questions per competencies were developed in the form of multiple choice questions. So there are a total of 165 questions and to be evaluated by select high school mathematics teachers in MSU-IIT Integrative Development School, IDS. Results and discussions, we have the second part, which is the game development first iteration. So the game design, the Mathematician Legends, is based on Penner's Algebra Poly in 2014, which is also based on the original Monopoly game first published by Parker Brothers in 1935. With a concern of contextualizing the game to what is the trend and what is the highly relevant to the students, the researchers made use of the modern online games themes while the character design based on mathematicians, hence the name Mathematician Legends. The Mathematician Legends is a tabletop board game played with cards, characters, tasks, and transactions like the game Monopoly. Hence, it has also its own set of board, cards, and corresponding paraphernalia as well as the mechanics. Here is the initial design for the board game. We have the board game design. We have the question cards, the character cards, the item cards, and the reverse face cards. Results and discussions, we have the game development, validation, and analysis. So we have the board game enthusiasts are our evaluators for our first iteration. So the table shows the result of the board enthusiast ratings of the board game. Generally, the game was rated very satisfactory. However, in rules mechanics, there is a need of improving and enhancing the game by the researchers since it has the lowest rating score among the other categories. So necessary revisions were made and then we have the second iteration. So we have the revised game design, a new design were made based from the comments and suggestion prior to the first evaluation. So new monster design and new upgraded game.
Okay, I think that ends the presentation for the last presenters. So thank you, fourth presenters for that awesome research study. I know that our audiences are interested in the development of mathematicians' legends. So again, if you have questions for the fourth presenters, please comment in the chat box. So okay, I think we will proceed to our question and answer portion. So, okay. I am very curious no about the design and the validation of the mathematicians legends. So my question for the last presenters is that based on your result, do you think the design of this mathematician legends is effective in addressing the students' disengagement in mathematics? Do you think this mathematician legends is effective in addressing the students' disengagement in mathematics? And why do you say so? So, okay, for presenters.
Hello, ma'am. Hello. Good day, everyone. So I am one of the presenter earlier, and one of the authors. So your question, ma'am, is does it helps the disengagement? Uh, in Is it effective to fight the disengagement of students in learning mathematics? So
Yes.
uh, our presentation got cut off. I don't know why. In my presentation, I showed the positive results of the students because there are three stages for the game development. We have the first iteration, the second iteration. It's all about evaluating and validating the game designs and mechanics of the game. While the last and the third iteration, we have the pilot testing where we let the our targeted students, which are the grade 7 students, to play the game and get their perception and their engagement level based from a structured and questionnaire, perception questionnaire. So based from their comments and their results from the questionnaire, it showed that they are really engaged. And I showed that they also commented that they learned mathematics in a fun way. So they commented the games design very awesome, like how the game items and the game flows, it really did well. And and not to brag, but we didn't have a much negative comment based from the pilot testing that we have done. So that's uh that's why we can conclude that the validation and the development of the game is well made. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, presenter, for that answer. And indeed, your the development of mathematician legend is effective, no, in addressing the students' engagement in mathematics. So now let's, okay. There is a comment from Mr. Janelle Medina that this study can be extended to another set of respondents in terms of the effect not to engagement. So I think the future researchers may use not these suggestions for their future research. Okay, now let's present the certificate of recognition for our last presenter. So the certificate of recognition is awarded to Joshua B. Dandoy for sharing his knowledge and expertise as presenter during the 37th Foundation Day Anniversary Research Colloquium on Academic Resilience during the Pandemic of the College of Education, given the 17th day of March 2021 at the MSU-IIT Iligan City. So signed by Dr. Amelia T. Buwan, the Dean of the College of Education, and Dr. Franco G. Teves, the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. So the same certificate is given to the co-authors. So we have James S. Hermosilia and Alexis C. Tagubar. So again, let's give a virtual round of applause for the last presenters. So I think we still have 3 minutes left. So we will now move to our open forum and entertain some questions from the audience. So do you have questions from our presenters? Okay. So I think there are no more questions. from the chat box. So now let's proceed to the final part of the program of this session. So again, I would like to thank you everyone for the participation and time in attending this session. And we hope you'll have learned a lot from the different research studies presented by our presenters. So I will post the link for the evaluation. Okay. So this is the link for the evaluation. So please disregard the correct answers. And yes, okay. Okay. So before we bid a goodbye, so let's have a picture taking, okay? So may I request everyone to please open your cameras and wear your beautiful smiles. So please kindly open your cameras. Okay. So other people, please open your cameras for the photo documentation. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. So magwaki pata. So okay. So another is can we have a waki picture? Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you everyone for your participation and time in attending this breakout session despite of your busyness. So again, let me remind you of the evaluation to get your certificate of attendance. Please fill fill out the evaluation link. So that's all for, I guess that's all for this breakout session. So again, thank you for your cooperation, and that would be all for today's breakout session. Always remember to keep safe. And once again, I am Ms. Rasamay C. Iligan, your moderator for this Accountancy, Business, and Management Research Cluster. So thank you and God bless everyone. So bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.